Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're looking at the WE Rectifier. Oh yeah, you guys know the ignition showed up, and man, there was a lot of people excited over the ignition, including me. And well, for some of us, the ignition let us down with the star screws and the VG10 steel. Others didn't let them down at all. They enjoyed it, and they were ready to use that VG10 steel, and that was a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that those people loved that knife, but it just never, even as ergonomically awesome as it was, it never rang true for me probably because of the VG10 steel. But here we have the rectifier. And what do we have? Well, we've got the same construction as the ignition. We've got G10 show side scale, titanium. We have a lock bar insert, but this time we've got Torx hardware throughout. And not only do we have Torx hardware throughout, is if I can figure out where it's listed and get it on the camera, if you've got your magnifying glasses out, you might be able to read the S35VN right there, even though it's upside down for you. S35VN steel. So WE has brought it. They haven't joked around this time, haven't half-assed anything. They have come on strong with this one. And let's get into it. We've got a closed length of 3.95 inches, a handle thickness of a skinny 0.43, a closed height of 1.23, a blade length of 2.96 is what I measured, although WE will tell you 2.95. Either way, it's less than 3 inches. An edge length of 2.8 inches, a blade stock thickness of 0.1 or 2.55 millimeters, and a weight of 2.71 ounces. Wow. And a grip length of 3.17. And like I said, we've got S35VN steel in that nice little blade. And the handle material is G10 on one side, titanium on the other. And it's just a very nice knife. Let's get a close look. We've got a titanium backspacer. Got some of that not so tough jimping back here. Big old lanyard hole, nice and generous there. And flipper tabs, got jimping all the way around it. This one, the jimping isn't like sharp, but you do notice it. So if you've got really sensitive hands, be aware of that. Got some jimping up the little thumb ramp. Very nice looking there. And it's not super aggressive jimping. So, I'm liking it as a lighter carry knife for sure. And we've got the G10. The G10 is that peel ply type stuff with light texture on it. I don't know if I can get it in the light so you can see that well. There we go. So I like that a lot. It's a lot better than some of the other textured G10 that WE has done. And let's do some size comparison. First, we'll do some small knives. We'll get out. We've got a Viper Lil from Jasper Vones. We have a CRKT Pillar. And here we have a knife, handle-wise, blade-wise, is much more in line with these than the other small WE knives that just appeared. But it's running super thin, slicey blade stock instead of this thicker blade stock. Now, the Lil is reasonably thin. I think it's 0.125 blade stock, so it's also going to be very slicey, but it is flat ground where the rectifier is hollow ground, giving it a slicing advantage. And what else? Well, we'll bring out our standards just because we should. There is a Buck 110, definitely a lot larger, and a Rat Model 1, also a lot larger. And the one that we're going to get the closest to, well, here we go, Spyderco Delica. And here is one of those places where I want to make a comparison real quick. Spyderco Delica in S30V is right around a little over $100. I think 110, 120. And your rectifier, S35VN, titanium hardware, custom milled pocket clip, ball bearings, etc., and we're at $144.50. So if you do some thinking about this, this is a pretty good value whenever you look at it that way. So, since we got the blade out here, let's get a look at it. And like I've said a few times now, it's a big piece of or small piece of S35 VN. It's got a really high hollow grind on it, nicely swedged up through there. And we've got stonewash. I love how WE does their stonewash. And then we have a satin right here. Same thing on this side. We already looked at the S35 VN, and we have a smaller version of WE's blade hole. Makes for a very nice looking blade. The one thing that I do want to show you, if I can find something nice and flat to lay it against, see if this phone will work. We do have just a wee bit of recurve. Now, you can keep that recurve in there if you've got the proper stuff to sharpen a recurve. But at that smaller recurve, if you don't, and you don't want the recurve, you can just sharpen it out. Shouldn't be a big deal. But it does have that blade, and that is a very beautiful blade. And let's check the behind the edge. Everybody wants to know that. And then, you know, that's something we need to talk about in a video sometime, because it has become this number that everybody wants. And I don't think that it's one of those numbers that everybody understands how it works as the knife gets sharpened and gets older. This is barely a gauge, and I mean, we are talking really thin behind the edge here, guys. Looks like it's right, well, it's under 20 thousandths. So we're just going to call it less than 20 thousandths. That is a really, really hard measurement to get. But being hollow ground, it's going to stay good and thin behind the edge for a long time, where your flat ground blade is going to get thicker and thicker as you sharpen up. With the hollow ground blade, you've got quite a ways to go before it starts to get thicker and thicker and thicker. So consider that whenever you're thinking about some of these smaller knives. And let's go ahead and do our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, mechanically, we got the same stuff. This is WE normal, just like any of the big knives. Titanium hardware. We'll go ahead and get the WE hot driver out here with a T8 bit in it. And, you know, they're all good screws. WE does make their own screws, and they are good. Probably some of the best screws on the market. We're running on bearings and hardened steel backing washers, lock bar insert, just like the big knives. Nothing different there. And that's one of the beauties of what WE's doing. Like a couple of other companies, they are not skimping. They're not going cheap whenever we get to the smaller knives. And for those of you that don't watch the market, that's what happens a lot of times. You will see whatever knife in the 3.5 or the 4-inch model, and it's got all the goods. It's got the super steel in it. It's got the titanium, the inserts, all the good bearings, etc., etc., etc. And then whenever you get to the mini or the smaller version of that knife, or a smaller knife that same company makes, they'll cheap out on the steel, or they'll go to phosphor bronze washers instead of bearings, or they'll go to less expensive hardware. Lots of different things that they will try to cheapen up. And what they're doing is they're trying to justify lowering the price on that smaller blade, where if they made the smaller blade with all the stuff that they put on the large blade, it would have to cost pretty much the same as the large blade. And they're trying to give you a price cut, but to do that, they have to cut the quality of some of the stuff. And, you know, that's just the way the capitalism thing bounces. But we did not do that, and some other companies have not done that as well, and they are bringing us beautiful knives. And let's talk about the ergonomics on this guy. And that is one of the highlights of our rectifier. That little bit right there of a thumb ramp makes this thing just fit in your hand extremely well. Or my hand anyhow, at a medium-large hand. And the way they've done the choil here, I think you're going to get most hands in it pretty darn good, because they went pretty simple with the handle design. It's a little taller than the Wisp and the Vapor, but that's okay. It is just Well, it's a very good handle design that should work out really well for a lot of people. And now there's something people are going to ask, can you flick it? This one you can. Or I can, I should say. Because the way that they've done this guy, there's more height here than there is on the Vapor. And that little bit of extra height gets your thumb in the right position to flick it. But it'll also still allow you to do this. Pinch that dude together, and if you're in that meeting or in that place where people are going to freak out on you, there you go. Get it open nice and easy without making a lot of noise. And that's really what that blade hole in this particular knife is best at. Alright, in the pocket. And once again, I've got this thing set up for a left-hand carry, so first off, let's look at the back of the knife. Now, you put your hand down in here, you are going to run into the pocket clip. It does not have that lift that the other two small knives have, but it's a nice smoothed off pocket clip on the back side, so I think you're going to be okay getting your hand in and out. So let's see what it looks like whenever you get it clipped into the pocket. It does leave more of the knife out than the other two knives, but I carried it some, and I haven't found it to be a problem. So the way it's arcing back towards the back of the pocket, I think you're going to be in good shape. And it's got that standard WE pocket clip that's got plenty of room underneath it. It's not something that's going to give you problems getting it in most pants. I have had it in some Carhartt pants, and I've had it in my 511s, and no problem in either one of those type of pants. And to sum this thing up, guys, the rectifier is going to be that knife. It's really going to be that good knife at a great price with a great action, and that's something to talk about. With the .1 blade stock, these are not guillotine knives. They just don't have enough weight in the blade to do that. What you have here is a knife that you take the weight off of, it obviously falls free, but it is still a nice, smooth action and a beautiful little knife. I'm really impressed with what WE has done here. Whenever we started the year with the Minotaur, and I've seen some of the other designs that were coming, and I was like, oh my goodness, we're still staying with all these really big knives. And then I get an email about these, and it was like, I need to see some specs on those. So I got some specs on them, and I was like, oh my lord, winner. And that's exactly what we've got here, guys. Let me get all three of them out so you can see them all at once one more time before we move along to something else, although I bet these will show up again on the channel. But there you go. You got the Vapor, the Rectifier, and the Wisp, the three small knives from WE. And guys, really they're all winners in their own little categories. Not a lot to complain about here, but that seems to be something that has becoming more common with WE. They have gotten really good at design. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.